Stand by and action!
Stan Winston's group is really fantastic, and they've done a lot of legendary monsters, if you would. And in this case, they had, I think, a really tough bar to cross, which was people were very familiar with the things that they were building. So they had to really access that familiarity, but then take it to the next step.
What was kind of neat about Doom in particular is because we had all this like broad territory to walk through, we could go through like every single exciting thing we ever thought was cool in a horror film and put people through those experiences, whether it's getting like stalked by a dude with a chainsaw or something more psychological. It's like we had the freedom to kind of hit every one of those points.
It'd been a while since I'd done a good monster film, so this was exciting. So I went online, started looking at the images from the game, and I liked the feel of the creatures. They're very meaty, kind of organic looking. I thought that would translate well. And I think the idea was for us to keep the essence of these characters. We weren't told to lock to their designs per se. As a team, what we wanted to bring to it was what we do in film as far as bringing texture and detail that can't do in a video game.
Well, the first time I saw the creatures was back at Stan Winston's studio when I was back there and they showed them to me.
When designing these creatures, after we come up with our 2D concept art, then we have to start the sculpture process. We had to do body casts and have them into sort of a neutral position. Those are replicated in like a fiberglass that disassembles to aid in the molding process later.
There's tons of fittings to make things work and make sure it's all right. So Brian Steele and I both were cast months and months ago. And we had several fittings. The first thing that you do start with is a head and shoulder life cast, and then a body cast from head to toe, where they wrap you in plaster bandages and get an impression of your entire body.
And then you actually start sculpting on top of their body what the creature's going to look like. And you stay as faithful as you can to the 2D design, but certain things happen in 3D when you start walking around something, looking at it from all angles, and it sort of modifies and morphs based on reality. Once that's signed off, then we went into molds, and then from molds you have to start fabricating all of the suits and the parts, and then in this case all the internal muscle structures and putting all the mechanics into them so that it's moving.
This happens to be a suit, so it's something that I slip into now, zip up the back, plunk the head on, put the hands on, I'm ready to go.
What we were trying to explore and achieve was internal muscles being able to move with the performer. A lot of times it's just a big bulky suit around somebody, so you might not see the scapula move, or it's restricting for the actor. And by making these things independent or using elastics to move like a tendon or muscle structure inside, we got a lot of freedom in motion, which I think transfers.
They're me now, a demonic imp. So what's happened to their body? Well, an imp, these creatures their bone structure has shifted and changed, heads have expanded some. The coolest one is that I love was the sewer imp that you see down there that's actually was Dr. Willits, but you don't know that right away. He's got 11 eyes on his head.
Action!
The Baron character, which is similar to the Hell Knight in the game. He's a big, thick, hulking creature. Sort of looked like old decayed meat was sort of the idea. So it's kind of grayish and then filleted areas on his skin. With these imps, because they're based more on Doug's structure, which is very lean and sinewy, with differences in completely different heads, was to also separate them out by color.
Oh, there's something behind me, isn't there?
What's great is these monsters are not CGI monsters. These are real monsters with real gravity. And you could always tell in movies when you see the CGI monsters because there's no gravity and they're kind of like hopping everywhere, but these monsters are the real deal. When they walk, you feel the weight of their walk, and you see the weight of their body and their muscle structure, and you see that in these monsters.
Our workload on Doom sort of broke into two categories. The Carmack, when he's starting to transform, and what happens to Rock in the movie, those are pure prosthetic jobs. The Baron or the Imps, it was a combination of a bodysuit which was form-fitting to the actor, which changed his body shape, which is in a way a giant prosthetic on him, but it also blended off into animatronic heads.
I have an earpiece in my one ear, and I'm connected to John Rosengrant. He's usually standing by the monitors, and then he can tell me in my earpiece, you know, move a little bit to the left, move a little bit to the right, you know, reach, you're covering your face when you do this, so don't do that, bring it lower, whatever. So I get a lot of direction in my ear from that. Now, being able to talk back is hard because I'm not mic'd to talk back, but I yell and go like this a lot, like, yeah, heard you, yeah.
Now this is scary. Thank you.
I always get asked the questions, you know, are they phasing out the animatronics? Is that going away? Because everything is going CG. And what we try to think about is what's the best answer for the shot. You know, if it's better for it to be CG in the shot, we're all for that. And if it can be done live, I think the benefits of doing it live with the animatronics is it gives eye lines and it gives reactions and things for the actor to perform with. I think it helps to have something there lit and real for everyone to focus on and react off of. One of the first things I said to everyone is that we've got to get great performers in these suits. Not just anybody that's big, that can fit in, or really skinny, but someone that can also act.
I think it's so important that there's a real physicality, which, you know, you can have something that looks as good as you like, but if someone hasn't got the physicality to pull it off, then it'll never succeed.
Brian was the Baron character, and he is a huge, thick, really ripped, sinewy, but huge, muscular character. Doug ended up playing the three different imps, 3 or 4 that we ended up doing for this.
In this film, there really was no one that could actually double me because these suits are made for a 6'4", 140-pound actor guy named Doug Jones, and no one's really going to be able to fit into those, so I have to do whatever I have to do, including taking lots of bullet hits and flying backwards and, you know, getting hit with the butt of a gun from Carl Urban. So I had to do a lot of that in the sewer, especially in the water.
It's had its appendix removed. It's human.
When I'm sitting down to kind of build something, it's like, I think it's really important to draw from real life. And I think, but like we do with the Doom creatures, you'll see a lot of kind of semi-obvious, inobvious, really blatantly obvious adaptations of like the human body. And you'll see like, you know, weird little pelvic bone shapes, kind of like, you know, cresting through people's heads. I know everybody finds sex scary, so that's all over the place.
To make these things sort of disgusting and repel, don't even look at that, which I think that needed in this, because it's scary. A lot of what we drew upon was forensic pathology books. Kind of twisted, you know, you're looking at dead people in various states of decomposition and whatnot.
I got to actually go and attend some dissection classes at the Prague Medical School, which is like going back into a Victorian teaching hospital or something. And I'm lucky that I'm not squeamish. I can sort of, you know, switch off the squeamish side and sort of employ the scientific side in a way.
This is brain matter from Portman.
There's a couple scenes where she's performing autopsies, and it's funny because she is the one who can stomach what's going on, and the guys are definitely having a hard time.
The Creature Workshop team is so deft and precise with what they do. These boys walking around with pots of things called ultra pus and ultra slime, and, you know, working out how we can get a really bilious looking black blood for these creatures, because they don't want the creature blood to be the same as human blood. So they found a way of putting little pellets and really making the blood coagulate and be thick and gory. It's brilliant.
Withdraw! Withdraw behind the nanowall!
Doom was a lot of fun on a lot of levels, but it was very liberating in that, you know what, this is going to be an R-rated movie. We're gonna see some gore. We're gonna make it nasty.
Breakfast of champions.
One of the big failures of monster design is a lot of people make superheroes with teeth. You know, they're generally kind of like big muscular guys that, you know, you kind of think that whoever's making this kind of wishes they were them versus wanting to run from them. And I think, I mean, I get caught up in that too, but I think horror films and games fail when they try to be very specific about what, you know, things that are in this nebulous territory is like, that's what's scary. I mean, confusion is scary. A lot of that stuff is fresh and creepy, but there's still this like hint of humor about it.
At the end of the day, if you can sit back and you've scared somebody, or they've turned their eyes from the screen and said, "Oh my God, that's gross," there's also a lot of fun on that level.